Going on YouTube, Cloverbells here back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we are going to go over the Seattle regional results in its entirety. First of all, happy belated anniversary to Pokemon, right? 30 years, that's a long time of playing Mons, especially for us. You know, we grew up in the 90s, so we've been playing Red and Blue since, you know, day one, back in the Gen 1 days, of course. Of course, there were other announcements, right? You know, we got some news for Champions, we got the news for Gen 10 release with Winds and Waves. So much to be desired with VGC moving forward. We still don't know a lot of things, right? In the coming months, we'll hope to see, right? You know, hopefully there'll be a little bit more announcements, but there's a lot of unknown with what is to come with VGC, right? But not our problem, right? We'll just leave it up to whoever else is in charge there. But what we do know are the results for Seattle, right? And that's exactly what we're going to be doing. We're going to be going over the data, right? First of all, congrats to Carson St. Dennis, right? It was a 800 plus regional, right? Lots of players, lots of cool teams. Great turnout, by the way. It's been a while since Seattle had a regionals, right? So this was a pretty much a must for those who were willing to at least compete one last time in Scarlet and Violet. But, you know, again, we still have some events coming forward, right? But we are officially in the tail end of the format, right? So this was a pretty big one to come out to. And, you know, there were some pretty interesting squads, some cool Mons that, you know, we love to feature, especially in their niche roles. So again, as always, we'll look at the usage data. We'll make some, you know, conclusions about what happened. We'll look at some of the cool squads, you know, from notable people. And we'll see what happens with Regulation F moving forward. Again, there's not a whole lot left you know, to be played, but of course there is still something to play for. So at the very least, we still have to go over some of our results here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's hop back into Lab Mouse and let's take a look at this stuff. Okay, before we actually go into Lab Mouse, I actually want to take a look at the graphic for Phase 1 and Phase 2 here. No surprise here with Phase 1, with the exception of the Indeedee cracking the graphic here. I would imagine that's just from a lot of either the Iron Crown Psyspam teams increasing in usage and a little bit more of the hard trick room stuff. And everything else is like pretty self-explanatory. I would have expected the Ursaluna to at least crack the top 12 here, but very interesting that we see Indeedee into this graphic here. Urshifu, Flutter Mane, Incineroar, that's pretty much expected. Raging Bolt there could have been a 4th, but instead it is a 5th there. Tornadus all the way up to 4th place here, 31%. That's pretty high for it, actually. Then you've got the 2 Ogre Ponds and then the Landorses, right? Then Chantpao and Rillaboom over here. Now, Rillaboom, again, continues to decline in usage a little bit. 21%. Again, hasn't really made a huge splash in Regulation F as it has in the past. But again, it's still a very useful tool on a lot of the setup teams, especially the Calm Mind stuff with Raging Bolt, or even to an extent the Iron Crown variants that are going a different direction. But usually you'll see a lot of this on something like the Swords Dance Ogre Ponds or even the Calm Mind Raging Bolts. But other than that, you'll see a little bit more of a different grass option. Usually the Amoonguss will come, or something else that's a little bit more preferred. But otherwise, again, a lot of this hasn't really changed. Amoonguss, again, such a useful tool with Incineroar. Your defensive backbone overall, your Intimidate, Fake Out, and Redirection, all in 2 Pokemon, right? You get 2 of the 3 Fire, Water, Grass cores, of course, right? And then at the same time, you know, again, Urshifu can run multiple items here, you know, Choice Scarf, Mystic Water, Life Orb, Focus Sash. Okay, lots of usage out of the Urshifu, and then variants in the EV spreads. You know, again, some players are going a little bit more heavy invested into the special defense bulk. Again, that's going to help it take some attacks from something like a Raging Bolt or Dazzling Gleam Flutter Mane, for example, right? You'll see some defensive Terras, you know, either Steel or Grass, which we'll take a look at in Lab Mouse in a second. Landorus, of course, excellent against Incin and Raging Bolt, and it's so excellent, it has forced a lot of Incineroars to run the Assault Vest as its most popular item in Regulation F. Would that be the case here in Seattle? We'll have to wait and see. We'll take a look at Lab Mouse, of course. Then, again, Wellspring, great matchup with the Urshifu Rapid Strike, good bulky redirector, right? Hard Flame, a little bit more offensive output. Again, can be, you know, an aggressive Pokemon here, especially when you have Grassy Glide / Swords Dance. You couple that with Rillaboom, you're doing a little bit more damage in terrain, and then you're just relying on priority moves in general, just because, again, you don't really need Trick Room in that sense. And then Chantpao, just a great partner with a lot of the physical mons in the format. think Urshifu, Chien-Pao, right, with Tornadus. That's a very standard hyper offensive core with just those 3 mons here, right? Yeah, some of the fire types like the Ogerpon Heartflame is good with Chien-Pao there. Even Dragonite teams are also finding some good uses with Chien-Pao at the same time. It puts a lot of pressure into Raging Bolt and Tornadus and Landorus, right? And even the Rillaboom technically too, right? So it's a lot of ice weakness in terms of the popular meta threats there. So Chien-Pao will always have a good spot here in Regulation F. Now, if we take a look at Phase 2 here, there is something that is very interesting here. Now, we do see Ursaluna, the other bear, crack the top 12 graphic, so that's expected. But look who is not in this top 12 graphic, and this is something that I have not seen ever, I don't think, in VGC. Where is Rillaboom in this graphic? Wow. All right, I'm trying to remember if there was ever a point in time, whether it be like Sword and Shield or Scarlet and Violet, or even before Sword and Shield, where Rillaboom wasn't in the top 12 usage, and I honestly can't, right? It's always found its way in the graphic, right? Regardless if it's top 6 or bottom 6 of the top 12 there, but to not see Rillaboom here is surprising, okay? But at the same time, you can also, understand why you don't see it a whole lot. There's so much terrain running around with so much Indeedee, right? Just taking away Rillaboom's terrain, and that's an important arsenal, right? To have that grassy terrain, to be able to use your grassy glide. So to have that removed is not great. And then at the same time, a lot of Chien-Pao, a lot of Landers with Sludge Bomb, okay? And then Tornadus, again, super effective flying move, aggressive fire types, okay? Like Incineroar still strong in the format, Heart Flame still strong, of course. So sometimes it's a little bit tricky to bring a Rillaboom onto your squad there. So I can somewhat understand the drop out of the top graphic there. But again, like Fake Out, Priority Grassy Glide, U-Turn, Woodhammer, still all very good moves, especially. And at the same time, like we said, it's still a very important tool with Incineroar to have on those Combine Raging Bolt teams, right? Those Bolt balance teams. So, but again, that's like maybe the one archetype where it really gets good value out of the Rillaboom. Otherwise, like the other teams, they just have a little bit more value elsewhere with something like the Ogerpon Wellspring, as its grass type, or even the Amoonguss, right? To give you that Trick Room matchup. And also something, with the Rocky Helmet to be able to redirect Urshifu Surging Strikes. Rillaboom can't really do that for you, right? So, and then the threat of Spore is very punishing, especially, right? So, I can somewhat understand it, but it's just shocking not to see Rillaboom in this top 12 graphic. But Ursaluna, we kind of expected that. There's been a lot of strong Ursaluna teams, especially the Tornadus variants with the Trick Room variant. So, pick your Trick Room setter, whether it be Porygon, Farigiraf, even Bronzong had a little bit more play now. Again, we've always believed in Bronzong, and you got to see it a little bit in Seattle. All right, and then you add the Tailwind version, good synergy with Earthquake. It's a flying type. Again, you can play Ursaluna very relatively fast with max speed. Again, this will all cover, when we get into the teams here, but it's just very interesting to see, just in terms of some of those points there. Landers dipping a little bit, 18.6%. I didn't think it would dip down to 11 there, but there it is. Okay, so that being said, those were the interesting things that we saw from the Phase 2 data. Now, again, won't tell the whole story. It just gives you the outside picture. Now let's look a little bit deeper when we hop back into LabMouse and take a look more at the data. All right, let's take a peek at some of the individual mons and some of their items here, and maybe some of their movesets, and see some of the trends within this region. So first of all, the Urshifu Rapid Strike. Take a look at this. When you click on the Urshifu, you look at the most popular item, the Mystic Water, 29.79%, a little higher usage than the Sash now, especially over the Choice Scarf here. Again, people are opting more for that slower, bulkier Urshifu, right? And now at the same time, because you get the damage output from the Mystic Water, you can run defensive Terras like the Terra Grass, like the Terra Steel, which really help against some of its weaknesses. Again, notably, the flying, the fairy weakness, right? So, and these are all very good, Terras to have on it, for the said weaknesses here, right? So, interesting to note there. And then Flutter Mane over here, again, booster energy, 62% now over Choice. But what I was more curious to see was, would there be an increase in Shadow Ball usage on the Flutter Mane? And there is. Look at that, 54%. That's a good jump. All right, because again, previously we've been saying how Flutter Mane up until this point, you know, they've been foregoing the Shadow Ball move there, right? In lieu of like more support moves like Icy Wind, Thunder Wave, right? Even Taunt, and that is still the case, right? But now there's a bit of a tick in the Shadow Ball usage, right? Because again, you really need that for the mirror, right? And you need that against stuff like Goldango, for example. Because again, Goldango starts to rise a little bit because like, hey, if you're not going to run Shadow Ball, then that means Goldango looks good, okay? Because your Fairy moves, your Thunder Waves are doing nothing to Goldango, right? You're just going to get melted by Make It Rain, right? So again, that's just a response to the meta, of course, right? Incin, is it still Assault Vest as the top item? Yes, there it is, 35% usage there. Citrus Berry Goggles after that, to be expected. Again, such a good item to have on it, especially when a lot of the big hitters in the format are special attackers like a Flutter Mane, especially Choice Specs variants, Raging Bolt, Landorus especially, that's the main one for it, right? Tornadus here, would it be the Cloak? Yes, it's still the Cloak there. Sash occasionally with a little bit more damage coming from something like a Sharp Beak there, but then Raging Bolt here, would it be the leftovers of the AV set? It is still the AV set here, 40% versus 31%, so still the Combine variant is popular, right? But the AV balance set is still very much intact here, right? So again, very nice to see there. And then what I also wanted to see, Chien-Pao here, would more opt for something else besides the Sash. Okay, the Sash is still high in usage there, 92%. The Life Orb was not, did not get the tick that I thought it would get, but again, it still has a small little splash there, right? So interesting to see there. Ice Shard, right? And then, you know, Icy Wind, a little bit more of those tech moves you see on Chien-Pao there. How about Iron Crown? Would the Calm Mind variant be more popular than the Terra Blast, Terra Water idea? I would assume so, and that is exactly what we see here. Look, Calm Mind, 51% usage, overtaking Terra Blast, Terra Water there at 46% there. That is to be expected, especially the way the meta was trending leading up into Seattle. So that's interesting to know. Look at Goldango there. Look at that, minus 2% there, 2.6%. Again, a little bit of a drop there. You know, to be expected, right? Again, with Flutter Manes, you know, maybe trying to pick up more Shadow Ball now. And then, of course, the ground types are still running around here. So not entirely surprising there. Okay. But yeah, those are just some of the more interesting things that I wanted to see in terms of the item, some of the more popular threats there. So now let's take a look and let's peek at some of these squads here. Oops, my mouse. All right, so now let's take a look at the top cut results here. So we'll start with the winning team from Carson St. Dennis. By the way, their team is public with full EVs. I won't link it here actually, but again, a lot of these squads that you're gonna see, they have been linked on Twitter. I've been retweeting them as much as I can. So if there is a team in particular that you're interested in and you don't really have Twitter, you feel free to comment and I will hopefully have the squad, you know, with those EVs. But if not, then it's okay. We can recreate it for you if you'd like. But anyway, Carson's team made public by Carrie, again, won Toronto. So if you want to look at it on Twitter, I've already retweeted it, so feel free. But let's just look at the OTS here. So Regidrago HO, again, you got Whimsicott, and then you got the two big hitters with Regidrago and Goldango here. Again, going for big Dragon Energy, big Make It Rain stuff. And then the Cornerstone with the Sturdy makes it so that, hey, look, I've got a Sash here and I don't actually have a Sash, right? So then you've got, you know, Urshifu under Tailwind, again, super hard hitter, Mystic Water. It was, in fact, a bulky invested variant. It was a invested Urshifu in terms of bulk with, you know, Spidef and a little bit of HP there, of Assault Vest Incineroar, of course, also to be expected. A lot of these AV Incineroars, by the way, they're going for that benchmark there, the Adamant 36 bump, right? And then, you know, just enough EVs to live, the Earth Power from the Landers, and then Goldango is just pretty standard in itself, right? So aggressive team, okay, a very devastating Encore is annoying, right, if you can time it well. But again, just Urshifu being able to clean up, you know, in the end game or deal a ton of damage in the beginning. You can make very, very favorable trades where you can remove certain threats and then just clear the way for Goldango and Regidrago to clean things up under Tailwind. Just click the Melt Energy button, click the Melt It Rain button, whatever you want to call it. Okay, either way, it's just super aggressive. And, you know, I like it a lot, right? It's a very easy team to pick up, right? So feel free to use Carson's team if there's something that you really want to play and use with the remainder of what we have in the format. Then we've got Sebastian Gonzalez here. Look at this Rain team. Again, Rain, a very underrated archetype. We put out a whole YouTube video on it, right? You know, about a week or two ago. You know, can Rain still get it done in the format? I told you guys, right? You guys gotta listen to me, man. Who said Rain was dead? That's why we made that video. Here you go, Sebastian getting second place. Good job, Sebastian. You know, I would imagine he was watching our channel when he saw that. I don't know, actually, but you know, it's nice to see the results come out, of course, you know, and that makes it look like we know what we're talking about, right? So this is very standard here. I love the Life Orb Chen-Pao. Again, we were just making a remark about this. Not a very high usage item on Chen-Pao in this case. That's because the sash is on the Pelipper, but again, Stellar Life Orb Chen-Pao does a ton of damage. Remember, a lot of Flutter Manes, they have a lot of bulk in their EVs because they want to survive the Sucker Punch / these ice moves from Chen-Pao. But now that you add the Life Orb item on Chen-Pao, now your bulk is irrelevant, okay? Now you will die to the Sucker Punch, or you have to commit the Terra Fairy to be able to survive it. And sometimes that can just really put you out of position where you don't have the Terra available later on when you need it most. So that's the counter to what people are doing with their Flutter Manes, especially the bold variants, right? The Life Orb now will start to pick up, okay? And even if you, and then of course you have the Stellar Terra option available. So now that you know, kind of ruins the Flutter Mane in essence, right? And then of course you still got standard Pelipper, Archelodon, Urshifu, Amoonguss, your standard Rain Core, of course, and then Chen-Pao again, just enabling Urshifu. Your Scarf Urshifu here, Terra Grass makes sense. Otherwise you just get melted or pinned by Thunderclap Raging Bolt there. So the Grass Terra definitely makes sense on a team like this. And then Amoonguss just gives you that stability, you know, helps you in the Trick Room matchup. All right, and of course, Spore Pressure is a threat. Sludge Bomb is great into the Ogre Pawns especially, right? So, and then of course, you know, Shadow Ball on Flood Mane, very useful. So shout outs to Sebastian, good job there. Colin, he had a great run, especially Cresselia, Ursaluna. He's a big fan of those two Pokemon, as are we. Look at our graphic, you know, below the video. We love Cresselia, Ursaluna. Our variant uses the Roaring Moon, of course. They opted for a different direction, but more or less, they like the other bear. All right, the Urshifu, of course, which again, still very strong here, especially with the Mystic Water, Terra Steel, right? Like we were saying earlier, the other popular Terra to have besides Grass. You can run this a little bit slower. Again, I think Colin made their team public, so you can always pick that one up as well. Grass, AV, Incin. Again, this is a very well-known team. The Cresselia had a lot of speed investment in its EVs, by the way, too, right? And that's going to help you outspeed certain matchups there. So you can definitely pick up Colin's team if you really want. Then look at this very standard HO team here with Tornadus, Flutter Mane, Chiyu. Look at this from Emilio Forbes. You know, again, great run. Look at that Specs, Chiyu, Booster Flutter. Again, Booster Flutter. Look at that Shadow Ball, like we said. You know, we expected that to pick up a little bit. And then again, Amoonguss just adds your stability. You see, look at a team like this. Can you really see Rillaboom doing a better job on this team than, say, Amoonguss? You need the Amoonguss. You need the Mushroom. Okay, it helps you in those Trick Room matchups, right? It's a great lead with something like Landers. It's a great lead with Flutter Mane especially, right? Where you get, you know, that offensive, defensive lead. So, you know, I like the Mushroom, all right? And then, you know, again, look at this. Tailwind, Icy Wind, Taunt on the Tornadus. So you don't need Taunt on your Flutter Mane. You got the Taunt on the Tornadus. So, yeah, this is pretty good from Emilio. Then look at this. This was a team on a lot of people's radar from Ethan here. This is the Calm Mind, Iron Crown stuff there. There it is, right? With Indeedee, Tornadus, Urshifu, of course. Then you add Specs, Flutter Mane. Paris Song is devastating, right? You pick up a couple of KOs, you click Paris Song, the game is over. You just have to withstand a couple of turns, right? And then, of course, you have the Heart Flame here, giving you that Fire Water. Grass Core with the Urshifu here. And again, you know, with the Flutter Mane, that is like one of the niche options that you can put over here. I've seen Landorus as another option here. Again, you've also seen Regidrago, of course, but this last 6 slot here can always vary here, and Ethan found value in the Specs Flutter Mane, of course. Tehran Birdie, again, the Tailwind variant with Ursaluna. This is, again, one of the popular, strong archetypes in Regulation F, just having that dual mode with, you know, the fast mons, the fast mode with Tailwind and the slow mode with Trick Room. And as I say that, I noticed that there is no actual Trick Room on this team, which is kind of funny when you think about it. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Oops. We'll take a look at that in a second here. But Instant Amoonguss again. Look at that. And then of course, Life Orb Urshifu. Yeah, with Terra Steel. Super cool. No Rain Dance, not needed. You got Icy Wind here. You got double Icy Wind, right? So very interesting. So I would imagine this Ursaluna has a lot of speed investment. Okay. Yeah. Again, you usually see that Trick Room setter here, but again, we're opting for a little bit more offense. Right, you're keeping the Instant Amoonguss backbone there, which makes sense. So that's cool. All right, Dominic Vogel, Tailwind variant with Raging Bolt there. AV Raging Bolt, by the way. Look at this. Tornadus, Instant Amoonguss, Ursh. Right, add Flutter Mane. This last slot up for grabs. Let's add AV Raging Bolt. Might as well. Snarl. Right, special attack damage mitigation, physical attack damage mitigation with Instant. Right, Intimidate, Fake Out, Redirection. You got it all with these mons. Speed Control, Electro Web, Tailwind, Icy Wind. Okay, so you've got a lot of tools here on this team. So nice job there from Dominic. We're going down here to Rob McNeely, a Chenpao D-Knight team, right? And it is banned D-Knight with Terra Normal, Extreme Speed stuff, right? Instant, Amoonguss, Defensive Backbone, Raging Bolt, AV Raging Bolt, and Ogerpon Wellspringer, right? So, can you do you see Rillaboom doing a better job on this team over the Amoonguss / Wellspring here? I think, I think these two are a little bit better, right? So, again, you can kind of see the drop in the Rillaboom usage. In fact, look at this graphic, right? In the top 16, how many Rillabooms do you guys see? I see 2. Okay, is that right? Yeah, I see 2 Rillabooms in the top 16. That is amazing. I don't think I've ever seen that, right? Usually you see, a bunch. Right, but along with Instant, but you just don't see it. Rillaboom is out, right? The Ogerpons and the Amoongusses are in. All right, we're going down here to Rashiel again. Another, I think they've also made their squad public, if what I understand here. This is the Calm Mind Raging Bolt stuff. There's where you get the value of the Rillaboom, like I was talking about there, right? The double fake outs. Okay, you click Calm Mind. You cycle, you click Protect, you Calm Mind, you fake out, you protect, you cycle in and out, right? Until you get to plus 60, right? And then finally you can start spamming your Thunderclaps and then you get crit, right? I'm just playing there. Is this the Swords Dance variant? No, it's the Focus Energy variant. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Sure, that works too. So good job from Rashiel. Again, it's an archetype that we've known and seen already. Another D-Knight POW team here from Kian Campbell. Again, there we are. Look at this. Chenpao, Dragonite, Urshifu. There's your priority spammers, your physical mons here. Instant Amoonguss, Defensive Backbone, Landorus. Is Rillaboom better here? No, it's not. I like the Amoonguss here. That gives me my stability. How about Joe Ugarte? This is more of a comfort pick for Joe. He's been running something like this for a while now. Gambit, he loves Gambit. I think it's one of Joe's favorite mons. Very safe to assume, right? Wellspring, Gouging Fire here. Again, Fire, Water, Grass Core, right? Amoonguss, again, a little bit of stability. You see that double Grass Core that I've been talking about? That Wellspring and that Amoonguss, right? Again, sometimes one redirector is not enough. You need 2. And they're both very different mons in terms of the support tools that they get, the offensive output. Look at Joe's, by the way. Grass Knot, Amoonguss, all right? Along with Sludge Bomb, Rage Powder, and Spore. So again, Grass Knot very useful against something like the Urshifu, right? So you can put pressure that way, and also very useful against Ursaluna too, right? So be aware of that if you haven't seen this already. Anyway, it's the physical spam stuff here with Howl, right? And then D-Knight does a lot, Chenpao does a lot, and then King Gambit. Not a very common Pokemon you see in this format because Urshifu is back, of course. But again, if you position it properly, it can definitely do very, very well, especially with Black Glasses Sucker Punch there. So great job from Joe there. And then Thomas Irwin, look at this team. Again, there's a Rillaboom there. You think that's Calm Mind Raging Bolt? You think that's Calm Mind Raging Bolt? Let's look at that. It is Calm Mind Raging Bolt. What are we kidding? All right. So Instant Rillaboom there, right? Urshifu, Sash, Fire, Water, Grass. Give me that Ogerpon. There's the Swords Dance, Grassy Glide. There's the Landers. We know this team. Good job, Tom. Very, very nice. And going down here, Demetrios. Oh, look at this. Roaring Moon Balance here with P2 Goldengo, right? Again, Instant, Roaring Moon, right, with Goldango. There's your core. Then you've got the P2 Trick Room idea, right, for a little bit more stability. Then here's Landorus, right, giving you that Raging Bolt matchup. But again, Goldango loves these tools, right? You love the fake out redirection support for Nasty Plot. You love the Tailwind support here, right? Being able to knock off Assault Vest stuff and then just go for big make it rain damage, maybe even remove an Eviolite from another P2, for example. So this archetype has also had a lot of success. Justin Tang there, Reggie Drago, and then of course the Iron Crown there. Just raw damage here. Give me that Tailwind. Give me that Dragon Energy, or how about the Expanding Force stuff there, of course, right? So to be expected, Life Orb, Ursh, tons of damage with Heart Flame. Again, Fire, Water, Grass Core there. Look at that Cursed Indeedee set that he's been mentioning even at EUIC. Imprison, Helping Hand, Follow Me, Trick Room. No attack move necessary. Just give me all that support and then just go from there, right? So shout out to Justin, great job. Gary Chia, whom we know very well. Look at this. Okay, Gary, Corviknight, niche option there, you know, making a splash, you know, at this phase, right? Look at this, Instant, Amoonguss, Trick Room Setter, give me that Ursaluna, there's the core, Raging Bolt, very common idea there. Sometimes you see Flutter Manes, sometimes you see Urshifu, nah, give me that Corviknight, right? Or give me that Tornadus, there's that Tailwind option, look at that, with Mirror Armor, though, that's very useful actually. And again, good synergy with Ursaluna, can Earthquake next to it. You've got Body Press, Corviknight here, right? IDBP, right? So in essence, this could be your end game option, right? We talked about Bronzong going for Iron Defense, Body Press. Look at Corviknight here. Look at this set. Okay, this is pretty cool too. And you know what's really cool? Just like Bronzong, you can't click a ground move into this, right? Because you are a flying type. So that's really nice. And it's good synergy with Ursaluna because again, Corviknight weak to electric, right? But if you have a ground type on your team, you could easily switch that in. So I like that a lot. This is pretty cool. Nice little niche finding there for Corviknight. Good job, Gary. All right. And then over here, Cody Sharp. Again, we just had a comment from him on one of my other videos there. Landorus, we just had a video on Landorus, right? You know, we got to talk about Landorus. That was the title. And look, here we are, the double genie idea. And I believe they also had no, that wasn't it. That was something else. But look at this here. So Tailwind, Earthquake, you know that combination already. The single strike Ursh, again, very useful against like other Cresselias, other Farigiraphs, right? And then Choice Specs, Flutter Mane, again, tons of damage. Heart Flame here, of course, again, good aggressive Pokemon here. I like this team, okay, and it's very good. Again, don't underestimate Landorus here, because again, Intimidate with Choice Band and tons of damage goes a long way. Again, we talked about the synergy with Landorus and Flutter Mane. You love that Intimidate support to be able to drop physical damage there. You've got a lot of special defense bulk already, so now you need a little bit of help on the physical side. Landorus can give you that for you. You can pressure the steel types like the Goldengos, like the Iron Crowns, especially, although they will outspeed you, so just be mindful of that. But that's why you got Urshifu here, especially the single strike one. But again, U-turn, strong. One Rock Slide is all you need to send someone home packing, right? So that's to be expected there. Look at this. Farigiraf here. You kind of need the Farigiraf here because look, you got a Choice Band Pokemon here. You got a Flutter Mane here with specs. They can't protect, right? So they're very vulnerable to like priority moves like Ice Shard, Sucker Punch stuff. Then you just swap in Farigiraf and you kind of take that away from the opponent, right? So I do like this option. Farigiraf definitely very much needed here, as a support to two choice item Pokemon here. And even technically your Tornadus, right? You don't even have Protect on this. In fact, just two Pokemon here with Protect here. So good job, Cody. All right, shout outs to you, 10-3, great result there. And now, what do we see? Okay, so were there a few Calm Mind Raging Bolts? Yes. Okay. Were there a few Iron Crown teams? Yes. Were there some Ursaluna teams? Yes. Okay. Now, that being said, you still see a lot of the balance stuff. You see those double grass cores, right? With Amoonguss plus an Ogerpon. And really the only outliers this is the rain stuff from Sebastian here, right? So again, shout out to Sebastian again, utilizing rain. When we said rain was a little underrated. Don't sleep on it. So yeah, and of course, a couple of the physical stuff with Chen Pao and Dragonite there, along with Urshifu stuff there. So lots of stings are still playable, right? With the occasional Nishmon making an appearance, like the Corviknight on Gary's team. There was a lot more where that came from, by the way. So that being said, now let's take a look at the rest of the field, because there's more to the story that was going on. I know we said don't sleep on Rain, right? So there were a couple of results, but overall not a whole lot. Again, it's a bit of a, you know, I say it's a C tier Arctic. Can you win a regional tournament? Yeah, absolutely, right? But again, it just takes something, you need a special run is what I'm saying with something like this. Look at this one though. Besides Sebastian, how about some of the others? Look at Noah Bauman over here, right? Now we add the Cresselia variant and also the Ursaluna. Look at this core, right? We already know this core. Pelipper, Ursh, Archelon / Amoonguss, right? So pretty expected. Sash Ursh, now you got Life Orb Pelipper doing a ton of damage. And look, you got a Trick Room core with Crest, Ursaluna, and then you can even bring in the Amoonguss, right? So some pretty interesting synergy there, right? And Archelon can play in Tailwind and Trick Room, right? Because it's not that fast and it's not that slow either. So this makes sense there. I like that team from Nora. Then you go to Shane Haller. Again, kind of the same idea here, right? Crest, Ursaluna, Archelon, Amoonguss, Pelipper, Urshifu, right? So again, Bug, Archelon. So this might be another variant that you can even consider with Rain moving forward. Again, another rendition here. So this is pretty cool to see. And then you have the Thundurus variant, which we also spotlighted in our video there, right? Because you got Landorus here with Thundurus. Again, manual Rain Dance, good synergy with Sandsteer, Landorus here. And then again, still the same core. Pelipper, Ursh, Amoonguss, Archelon, right? It's just those last two slots that are up for grabs. But again, don't sleep on Thundurus either. Like we mentioned in that video, Eerie Impulse, very, very good. Thunder Wave, Speed Control. All it takes is one Parahax to send somebody home. Manual Rain Dance, again, very good against, you know, stuff like Torkoal that are running around, or even like the Sunny Day stuff. So taking away photosynthesis. So again, just be aware of that. But overall, Rain did as expected. You know, a couple of day twos here and there, but nothing like to blow you out of the water. I just want to spotlight Bronzong here, right? Because again, we are high on this mon. We love this mon. We had a whole video on this mon. So to see a couple of results here, just, you know, makes us feel good here. So let's look at Costin Thompson here. This is actually a team that they ran, and they were inspired by you know, over a year ago in the previous format of Regulation F. They just kind of adapted it more to their needs here. But this is actually a 2024. Let me get that right. 2024 kind of team. And then here we are. Look at this. Moltres here has Snarl. I think the old Moltres had U-Turn on that team. But here they adapted it for Snarl. Bronzong, of course, the typical standard set. Grimmsnarl, Screens, annoying. Thunder Wave, annoying. There's no Hex here, by the way. Then you've got Cornerstone here, right? The Sturdy effect. Again, Sash, Amoonguss, Double Redirector. You can set up the Trick Room. Okie dokie AV, right? That's super annoying. Upper Hand, again, very, very nice. You know, sometimes you'll see Ice Punch in that kind of slot there, but Upper Hand is just so good there. So, again, pretty cool Bronzong team there. Especially the fact that it has Moltres and Okie dokie there. Then we go to Dawei. Again, very standard Ursaluna kind of team with Bronzong. Again, there's not a lot of things that can break it, especially after you get a couple of iron defenses. It just kind of sits there, right? Especially when you have stuff like Parting Shot and Redirection to weaken it and take away attacks. It's not a lot that you can do to kind of get to the Bronzong. So then you add the synergy with Ursaluna with Earthquake there. Again, it's a pretty cool mon. And then I think this is more or less the same team here, right? Yeah, pretty much. From Gavin Michaels, who we actually spotlighted in that Bronzong video that we made, right? Because again, they were using the Wellspring variant. I think we looked at the Urshifu a little bit more, but this just makes sense too. So this is, again, twice already, maybe even more than that. I don't know the whole story, but this is, again, another variant that Gavin has, you know, very much appreciated and has liked. All right, and then we kind of see some of the similar ideas, just not the same results there. But again, don't sleep on Bronzong. The Ursaluna teams were, in fact, one of the big stories of this regional. Look out, you know, outside of the top three, look at all of these Ursaluna teams, all the 9-3s, all the 8-4s. My goodness, Ursaluna had itself a run there, and it's no surprise that you saw it in the day 2 graphic, right? So just looking at some of these teams, again, just pay attention. do they have Tailwind on the team in addition to the Trick Room variant, or do they not have the Trick Room altogether and just rely only on the Tailwind stuff? Or the other side, do they not have the Tailwind but only relying on just the Trick Room variant too? So let's take a look at this. So we looked at already some of these. Adam, again, so he's got the traditional build here with both the Trick Room and the Tailwind, right? And his Trick Room setter is the Porygon 2, right, with the AV Instant and the Amoonguss there, you know, coupled with the Ursaluna and the Tornadus here, right? And if you're gonna have Tornadus, right, Urshifu just also makes sense here, right? Tailwind Surging Strikes, fake out Surging Strikes, you know, just make you know, some trades, deal a ton of damage. So it just kind of makes sense here, you know, for that kind of team. Then if you look at this one from Nick Ing, no Tailwind, right? This is exactly what we were saying. Just give me Instant, Amoonguss, Trick Room Setter, Ursaluna. Then you just slap on Flutter Mane, Urshifu. We've seen this since the beginning of January, right? It's still good even right now. Shout outs to Nick. Again, something that has already been proven, still working, right? And then, again, we just spoke about Nora's team a little bit earlier. How about Chase here? So this, again, there's the Farigiraf as your Trick Room setter. Then you still got the Tailwind, you know, mode with Tornadus here with Heart Flame. So again, still okay. Again, specs Flutter Mane, tons of damage. This is another variant that you could even consider. So it also makes a lot of sense here. But I'm gonna speak about Manuel's team in a second later on, because again, we love Blood Moon. We're gonna put out a video with Blood Moon in a bit, but yeah. What else? Are there any of the other variants that stand out to us? Right? No, these are kind of like repeats. Tornadus, right? But because you know, whatever. How about this one? Look at this one right here. With Grant, 61st place over here, 8-4. Look at this, right? You got Ursaluna with Iron Crown. So you got Tornadus, you got Urshifu, you got Indeedee, you got Iron Crown, right? Now what we're saying is, look, if I got a Trick Room setter, let me get the Ursaluna in here, right? And then at the same time, look, I've got Tornadus. I can play under Tailwind too, right? I got Earthquake, I got the Flying type. So let's keep that same idea. Let's slap on the Ursaluna here. I don't need Landorus, right? Give me the Ursaluna. Give me the other ground type that can do well in the Trick Room here. That's exactly what's going on here. Shout outs to Grant. Good idea there. I can totally see this moving forward. Josh Lorsey over there. By the way, congrats on getting Ambassador. I saw that tweet earlier, so shout outs to Josh. I don't know if he'll watch this video, but hey, you know, if he does, congrats to him. Again, similar idea, right? Throw straight for Urgaf, Tailwind, Tornadus, maybe Instant, you know, Flutter Mane over there doing its job. The Bronzong stuff we spoke about a little bit earlier. Look at this one, right? We got Heatran, double steel type here, Heatran and Iron Crown. You don't see this. Look at this 5, right? Once again, we're inserting the Ursaluna into these Iron Crown teams there, right? So that might be a theme moving forward too. Heatran is a very interesting choice to have into that slot there. Again, Heatran can give you that matchup into Flutter Mane Chiyu there. I don't know how well it worked for them on this squad, but hey, I would love to know. Then as you move forward here, now sometimes you'll get like the Sun mode stuff, right? So look at Daniel's team here, right? So Instant, you know, Farigiraf, you know, with Torkoal or Ursaluna, of course, right? And then you got Flutter Mane, Specs, and then Cornerstone here again with the Sash. So this is another way to play the Ursaluna, right? You can go more with the Heart Trick Room mode there if you so choose. But otherwise, you see some of these common ideas. Look, another one right here, right? Again, Tanner Tor. Again, another Ursaluna, Tornadus, Iron Crown stuff there. So you're combining multiple modes just to give you different game 2, game 3 leads, you know, besides the game 1 stuff there. So that's pretty cool in essence, right? So I guess now moving forward, again, look, there's so much Ursaluna stuff. And I think my favorite one is Gary's team here with that Corviknight. I really like this. Again, if you're watching Gary, you know, congrats, we like it. I think Corviknight as one of the cool niche mods to see in this regional was just nice to see overall. The Gouging Fire physical spam stuff was, again, relatively solid. You know, you had, besides Joe, you had some pretty cool 9-3, 8-4 squads here. So good amount here, right? So again, some of them have the Dondozo, some of them don't. Some of them also featured the Sinistcha, some of them featured the Galarian Zapdos, right? Some of them even have the King Gambit in that slot. It really just depends on how you want to play the physical stuff. But ideally, some of your common options is going to be that Dragonite, that Chenpao, along with that Gouging Fire, and then pick a Defiant Mon, right? That's kind of like your core there. And then from there, you add a little bit of Trick Room stability. This is where like stuff like Amoonguss, Sinisha, they come into play. And then you even have the Tinglu option, right? Which again, partners well with a lot of the physical stuff, especially when you can click the ground move next to your flying types like the Zapdos, like the Dragonite there, right? And then again, you know, with the support from Hal, the Tinglu all of a sudden can become a sweeper, right? So this is something that we've seen, you know, throughout Regulation F. So for example, look at Arnie Wolf's team over here. So, Chien-Pao, Dragonite, Gouging Fire, Tinglu. Again, this is pretty cool and expected, but pay attention. When you see Dondozo, that means two things. It's probably Yawn Sandtomb, and that's exactly what this is. Yawn Sandtomb, you know, trap things, deal a ton of damage over time, pick things up with extreme speed now that they're in range after they've lost so much health, or you just clean up with Goldengo, you know, even after they go down because they've taken so much chip. Right, just make it rain. It's just already super hard. Just cleans up, right? So that's pretty cool there. Again, this is the Gambit stuff, right? This looks like Joe's team here. Yeah, well, there is Chien-Pao, Gouging Fire stuff here. Again, you know, I like King Gambit. I think King Gambit is very, very cool. And then Joe's oh look, another, hey look, two Joes running the same kind of squad there. Joseph Card, more or less the same kind of concept here. So this is pretty cool to see. So you see three teams, again, more or less repeatable results. So I kind of like that. Look at Daniel Kraft's team here. This is interesting. You got the double genie here. And then the rare Rillaboom. Look at this, right? Loaded dice bullet seed Rillaboom. Wow. Okay, we got the Howl Gouging Fire. And then, again, Tornadus, Landorus there. Rain Dance enables Landorus, enables Urshifu, enables Archelodon too. Look at this kind of rain team. How did I miss this? You know, oh, I see. I know what's going on. It's I think it's like, what is it? Self bullet seed into Archelodon and then proc all the stamina buffs. Yeah, I see what you're doing, Daniel. Yeah, this is a familiar tactic there. So I kind of like it. You know, nice to see it do well. This Waleed, I think, again, this is the Yawn Sandtomb stuff there, like that we just saw. Yes, it is. All right, now for the Zapdos teams, right? From Michael and Madden. Yeah, again, a familiar core, right? This is the coaching stuff, right? You know, where you can coach some of your physical attackers, get that defense buff. Now you're reducing special damage. So now you just become hard to break, right? So, and then again, it is clear Amulet Tinglu. So Instant not going to do anything here, especially against this lead. Just coach the Tinglu, start clicking Earthquakes, ton of damage. Sinisha, you know, again, recovery over time. Able to redirect Urshifu stuff, so again, it's just super annoying. And then you got your own Gouging Fire as like your own lone special attacker, right? So yeah, again, look at all the Gambit here. Like, again, you know, trying to make a bit of a comeback here if it can. But again, a lot of that same King Gambit Gouging Fire stuff was pretty evident in this region. I think we saw this team like 5 times, which is you know, in and itself an achievement there. So nice job, King Gambit Gouging Fire stuff. How threatening would the Dondozo Tatsugiri teams be in this region? So it had some splashes here, right? Couple 9-3s, some 8-4s there, right? You know, sometimes they may use the glaring wheezing, like some of these squads here, but how about this one, by the way, with Regigigas? So Billy Elm able to get that day 2 result with wheezing Gigas. That's pretty cool. But let's look at some of the other teams here. So we already previewed Artie's team there. Shrey, look at this one. Again, Dondozo Tatsugiri, Dragonite Chien-Pao. You got the glaring wheezing here. Set up the spikes, chip everything, okay? And then just clean up with your priority mons with Dondozo after they've exhausted a lot of resources and taken too much damage. So pretty standard there, right? And then this one is a little bit more older, hyper offensive stuff, right? Again, Dondozo Tatsugiri, Tornadus Glimora, and then now you add Dragonite over here, right? So again, D-Knight is being super aggressive as, again, another big physical hitter, right? But again, Chiyu Glimora stuff, again, very solid lead there along with Tornadus. That's to be expected there. And then how about 222 Dozer, right? Dragonite Chien-Pao, Flutter Manes Chiyu, Dondozo Tatsugiri, right? So start with one mode, clean up with the other mode, right? You don't have to bring all 3 modes. You do need to bring 2 though. So that's also pretty good. How about this one though? Kent Wong, Drift Blim. Look at this. Minimize tactics. I think there's a pace for this. They linked it. on Twitter. Minimize, substitute, acrobatics, baton pass. That is annoying. Okay, I don't know how often they were able to do this stuff, but again, Drifblim with this set is just evil. Okay, you know what you're getting with Indeedee, Iron Crown, Dondozo, Tatsugiri. You know this, right? These are standard 2-2 stuff. Then you just add in Drifblim. Look at this thing. All right, shoutouts to Kent again, making good use of niche mons there. And then at the same time, look at this from Billy Helm, Dozogiri, and then Galarian, Weezing, Regigigas. There's a lot of mons that depend on their ability. You throw in neutralizing gas, and then you take away those abilities. It kind of hurts. I almost said a different boo-boo word there. AV Tatsugiri is pretty cool. I like that. E2. What else we got here? Look. Hey, Justin. All right, Justin. Well, look at this. We got a Regice team here, right? But it also has Dondozo, Tatsugiri. So Snowscape Tornadus, yes, it is exactly that. We got the Snow Team Hill mode. Shoutouts to Justin, man. Look at this team, right? We had a couple of Regice sightings in Regulation F, right? Especially with the triple Drago with Registeel along with Regidrago. We'll preview that in another video. But look at this. Dondozo, Tatsugiri, right? It's Oblivious Dondozo Choice Band, by the way. I just want you guys to know that. Okay, then it's Sash Tatsugiri Snowscape Tornadus with Ninetales with Regice. Choice Specs Regice, by the way. Right? You add Incin, all of a sudden it's super bulky. You add the snow, even harder to remove. And now you just have, look at this. You have Bolt Beam coverage, Thunderbolt, Ice Beam. Remember, Bolt Beam coverage, very patented combination in VGC. They cover for each other very, very well, so that's kind of cool. But overall, Dozo, not a huge threat. There were a couple of nice sightings here, but again, you know, overall in Regulation F, not the biggest of splashes. Okay, the Iron Crown Psyspam team. So one of the premier archetypes of Regulation F right now. We've already previewed a couple of the cores, especially Justin Tang, the more standard core with Urshifu and Regidrago. But then again, you don't have to go the Regidrago route. Yeah, the more popular variant right now is to go with the Calm Mind rendition with Landorus Therian providing Intimidate support and good synergy with the Tornadus, right? And that's exactly what we see here from Jake Muller, right? This is the premier squad here. So there's Tornadus, and then there is the Iron Crown there. Again, Calm Mind, coupled well with the Indeedee here. There's Landorus. There's your core there, right, with these four. Then after that, you've got the the Ogerpon Heart Flame for aggressive offense combined with Urshifu over here, right? And don't forget, you can even just lead Indeedee Urshifu, right? And just go with like follow me, wicked blows. You know, again, typical sword and shield lead. You know, deal a bunch of chip damage, right? Super aggressive in terms of the early game, and then, you know, kind of clean things up here with Iron Crown, or just early aggression with just Tailwind Earthquake plays, right? And then bring in Ursh or Iron Crown, just kind of clean up with Expanding Force and stuff like that. So something like this, again, is a pretty nice team to pick up right now and just utilize. Then there's some other options that you can kind of tweak around here. So like, for example, look at Navjot's team over here, right? Again, Jones has a pretty good squad here. So double Genie concept again, but this time it's the other Landorus. Again, still pretty good matchup into your Raging Bolt and also Incineroar stuff, right? Because again, you are a special attacker here. This is the Ban Ursh, and then it's Ogerpon Wellspring rather than the Heart Flame, and then Iron Crown with the Expanding Force and the Calm Mind here. So similar concepts, right? Just a couple of different options, different Landorus, different Ogerpon, but the same core 4 mons there. So mix and match, I guess, right? Kent right here, again, the Dozo, the Tatsugiri squad here that we previewed a little bit earlier with the Drifblim. Okay, that's also pretty cool. And then even this one right here from Chris Large, one of the more unique squads of the tournament, right? But again, still, you know, capitalizing off of the same core idea, right? Tailwind user with Indeedee Iron Crown, and then add the Urshifu here, right? And then give me an Ogerpon Heart Flame in its place. And then after that, you know, that last slot there, that flex slot, that Landorus slot here. In this case, we have the Iron Boulder with Swords Dance, Clear Amulet there. So you could even just do stuff like Indeedee Iron Boulder, follow me, Swords Dance, and then after that, maybe bring in the Murkrow or bring in something else, and then just take advantage with your Mighty Cleaves and stuff, right? And don't forget, you got 2 redirectors here, right? So it's pretty nice to have the Ogerpon on these type of teams, because you have 2 redirectors to be able to set up your Calm Minds, right? So it's pretty cool in essence. And you know, Iron Boulder is a Pokemon that doesn't really get a whole lot of usage there, so the rock typing is pretty cool there. And then the interaction with Mighty Cleave overall is really, really nice, right? So I kind of like Iron Crown here. I think it's a nice choice there. Then after that, look at these other options. Again, same concepts from Benji and Aaron. How about this one here from Grant? Again, utilizing the Ursaluna. Again, same kind of idea. But now instead of the Landorus as the ground type, the Ursaluna is a ground type here, trying to give yourself a better Trick Room matchup. And again, we kind of covered that a little bit earlier. This one right here utilizes the Whimsicott instead, right? But of course, with the Whimsicott here, look at this Encore and Endeavor, very devastating if you can time that very, very well. But again, same kind of core concept. Whimsicott, Iron Crown, Urshifu, right? And then the Indeedee here, slap on an Ogerpon of your choice. In this case, it's the Wellspring. And even though we don't have Landorus, we do have Incin, right? Incin is a very capable replacement, right, for Landorus. 2 Intimidate users there that you can cycle in and out. And if you don't have Tornadus, then, you know, Incin maybe can be a little bit better, right? Assault Vest variant here, probably Adamant. I would imagine, you know, for a little bit more aggression there. But again, the same kind of core idea here. This one is the Heatran. Is this the Magma Storm stuff here? No, this is just the aggressive Life Orb idea here, right? So one of the few, again, expanding force. One of the few Terra Blast Iron Crowns here. Again, usually you'll see some of the Calm Mind variants here, but that's okay. How about this one, utilizing the Chiyu concept here? Again, just trying to deal a little bit more damage from the special end, right? You got Regidrago here, and then this is what I was expecting from the previous Whimsicott team. You got Fake Tears here, but I guess it didn't really fit that kind of squad because, you know, there weren't as many special attackers, but now you've got 3. So, you know, Fake Tears just kind of makes sense with Iron Crown, Chiyu, and Regidrago. So Stefan's got the right idea here. And then you just, again, slap on the Indeedee Urshifu here. So 7-5 day 2 results are pretty cool there. But overall, I think the R-type is strong right now. One of the strongest that you can utilize right now. And you already noticed the core that we've seen already. Okay, with those 4 mons there. Just pick your Ogerpon and then pick your flex slot there, whether it be Incin, Landorus, whatever it may be. There's some options there. And again, you don't even have to utilize Tornadus. I like the use of Whimsicott, especially from a Stefan. But again, that was because they were utilizing the Chiyu concept. So again, a little bit more special attackers, but again, it just makes sense. All right, how about the Roaring Moon Goldengo teams here? So not a ton of results, but a couple of day 2 squads here. So we've already covered Demetrios' squad here. How about Peter Chen? Bird up, right? Look at this kind of team. And again, Peter also, I believe, made this team public. We've got Tornadus here and Roaring Moon there. I guess these are your birds. Then you've got Glomora offense, right? Glomora is such a good mod in this format. Great coverage with the poison from Sludge Bomb, rock coverage, you know, with Meteor Beam, and then ground coverage also very, very nice, solid overall. It hits a lot of the format, I would say. Then you add instant offense with Choice Specs Flutter Mane, right? Tailwind support, right? And then Flutter Mane just goes bonkers. Roaring Moon here. With Breaking Swipe, a little bit more mitigation here, Acrobatics, knockoff there, and an Ogerpon Wellspring. Again, giving you that Fire, Water, Grass core with the Incin here. So, pretty cool. Tailwind balance kind of squad there from Peter. Then, this is your typical squad here, right? From Joe Ochoa. This one utilizes the Incin Amoonguss Goldengo concept here. It's Choice Specs Goldengo, of course. And again, nothing new and crazy over there. It's still pretty much the same stuff. And then even Dylan's team, again, same kind of concept here, right? Yeah, more or less the same thing with Choice Specs Goldengo. So not a ton of results here. I will note the other kind of Roaring Moon variants right over here with the, I believe this is like Jack Clark's team here with Roaring Moon, and then screen support from Grimmsnarl, and then you got Goldengo still here that can, you know, use the support from Wellspring and even the screens here to set up Nasty Plot and just go for big make it rain damage, especially after Tailwind, right? And then Okidogi, very nice anti-Incineroar Mon here, especially with Upper Hand being such a good move right now. Ice Punch is a very nice tech for, you know, so much Landorus running around there, so I kind of respect it. It's a nice choice there. So shout out to Omar there. So Not a ton, but again, still pretty good right now. It's not one of the major archetypes, but once upon a time, Roaring Moon was successful in Regulation F. Took a couple of big name tournaments, right? Then if we look at Arcanine, right, the Hisuian Arcanine, Flutter Mane balance stuff. Remember the whole infamous combination of like Thunder Wave stuff with the aggressive Arcanine, right? So taking a look at this. Look, again, a couple of day 2 squads here. Paulo Steffens, look at this kind of stuff here with Moltres, right? Again, Fire Wrath, Air Slash, Dark Snarl. You've got Arcanine here with Intimidate, right? Even though you don't have the Instant or Landorus, you got the Arcanine here. Raging Bolt, stabilizing things with the Assault Vest, with Electro Web speed control. Sneasler here with coaching, right? You can boost up your Arcanine here and even your Wellspring. And then Flutter Mane, of course, the support set with Thunder Wave, Icy Wind, and Taunt. Super annoying, of course. Sometimes you might even consider Hex here, but on the Moltres, but in essence, Thunder Wave is just a really annoying move to kind of have to deal with sometimes, right? Some Articuno stuff, not a whole lot, obviously, right? But they're still running around. I don't necessarily think you need to run Articuno at this point in the format, but again, it's still available if you want to. Stewart, again, just Stuart Wyman, same kind of squad, I would imagine, right? Yeah, pretty much. So this kind of 6, again, not immensely popular, but can still get you like a couple of key wins here, right? Look at Audit over here, almost the same kind of squad here. Again, Thunder Wave, Icy Wind, Taunt, Wellspring, Ogerpon, Arcanine there. I like Wellspring, Ogerpon here. And then Landorus in that other slot there. So it's still like pretty good. If you really think about it, you don't necessarily need to rely on the Sneasler. Then you've got Michael Zhang, right, with a couple of Pokemon he likes to use, namely Tyranitar and Latios. Remember, we did a video on Latios earlier. It's got pretty good coverage against something like an Urshifu, for example, right? Tailwind support on your team. Tyranitar, your Dark type matchup, into something like an Iron Crown. Then again, your Arcanine over here loves the sand weather, right? So you got a sand team almost, right? And then all that chip damage, the Spadef boost that you're getting, right? You got Okidogi here with Covert Cloak. You usually don't see that item all that often, but it is there. Gunk Shot, Drain Punch, knockoff. Okay, again, anti-instant stuff there. That you got the clear ammo on the Tyranitar regardless. But look at that Flutter Mane set there. There's that Shadow Ball, right? I don't see Thunder Wave there, but again, you do have Tailwind, so Shadow Ball looks pretty good into something like the mirror matchup ideally. And then one of the few teams where you will see our Rillaboom here, right? So all in all, again, you do have Fake Out Pressure. You got Grassy Terrain Recovery especially, right? But this is a very interesting squad, but more of a comfort pick for Michael Zhang. I know why he used this kind of team. These are Pokemon that he's used a lot in previous regionals, so might as well bring it here. Again, more or less the same stuff here with Moltres. Look at this one here from Chris Walsh. This one uses the Iron Hands. You don't see this one all that often. That one looks like the Okidogi slot, but here we are with Iron Hands. Again, once upon a time, Iron Hands for a whole year was maybe arguably the best Pokemon in the format for a whole year because of its stats, right? Like it's got great stat spreads, good attack stuff, right? Spadef gets the full benefit of the Assault Vest, so you're super bulky. You can snipe Flutter Manes with Heavy Slam. Drain Punch just makes you stay in the field. Wild Charge, high damage. You didn't even need your ability, right? And then when Miraidon came out, this thing became even more broken. But all in all, you got your key Pokemon here with Flutter Mane, Arcanine, Wellspring, and Moltres. The last couple of slots there are up for grabs depending on how you want to view it. But again, at least the core has been identified and is staying there. Now, I do want to look at a couple of these 5-3 teams, notably this one here from Juno-san, because he's got the Iron Bundle. Remember our video a while back, talked a little bit about Iron Bundle. Again, that was like one of the the underrated niche mods that you can use in Regulation F. Iron Bundle is 1 point faster than stuff like Flutter Mane and Chenpao, right? And if you can get off your Icy Wind first, that's going to make a huge difference here. There is no Flutter Mane on this, but you do have Okidogi and Goldengo here with Arcanine, so it's an interesting squad here. But I did like the use of Iron Bundle here, so even though they didn't quite make day 2 there, they were pretty close. So again, 5-3 is still like a respectable result at a regional in essence. So yeah. All right, lastly, before we start looking at more of the niche mons and the teams here, so Torkoal stuff. So Torkoal could be on like those Sun Balance teams or like the Hard Trick Room stuff. I think those are the best uses of Torkoal in this format here. And you see quite a few of those teams here in phase 2, so let's spotlight them a little bit here. So from Mohamed Ibrahim, look at this one. This is very typical Hard Trick Room stuff here with Smeargle, right? Indeedee, Hatterene, Torkoal, plus usually an Ursaluna, but in this case we don't have it. We have Urshifu instead. We got Smeargle here with Spore and Decorate Pressure, and with the Sash, you're just super annoying Technician, by the way, too, right? So again, Specs Torkoal, right? Fire, Helping Hand, just melts things, right? Even things that resist. Not all that great. Then Montana Mod here, look at this one. We've got the Hisuian Lilligant here. It is in fact after you here, right? Rather than like upper hand here. So you can always threaten after your eruption as something to respect. Then you've got Clear Amulet Ensign. We've seen a team like this before. Then look at this here, right? Throat Spray Fergaf. Again, very common item to use on Fergaf right now. Like the Throat Spray Hyper Voice stuff here. Then Raging Bolts. Again, another Pokemon here like Flutter Mane. Benefits off of the Sun from Torkoal. 2 Protosynthesis mons that can do a lot of special attack damage. So this kind of makes sense here. And then look at this one right here. Again, utilizing the Iron Hands here. So instead of Ursaluna, we got Iron Hands here. It is Swords Dance, by the way, with safety goggles. So you can easily lead into the Iron Hands. You know, follow me Swords Dance, follow me Trick 'em stuff there. And then just go from there, bring in the Torkoal if they knock out your Redirector. Start punching things with Ban Ursh if you have to. So pretty self-explanatory there. Zach Carlson, I think it's more or less the same team as Montana here. Yeah, pretty much. And again, it's a good squad to use. Usually, I'm looking for like the Helping Hand Eject Pack sets that play Torkoal a little bit more balanced. I don't know if we're gonna find that, but we do have a lot of these Hard Trick 'em stuff here. Look at this one, 7-5. There's our Ursaluna, right? So look at this Ensign for Rillaboom, you know, fake out Trick Room, pivot out into Ursaluna. You got Cornerstone here with the Sturdy, with the Sash here. Flutter Mane, again, your fast mode with the Sun, with Torkoal here. There's the Helping Hand Torkoal there, so you can always lead Torkoal, Flutter Mane, Helping Hand, Dazzling Gleam, Terra Fairy, right? Mystical Fire is a great tech here to have, so I like this team. Okay, and then even this one right here from Aaron Perez, again, same kind of concept here with the safety goggles, Iron Hand, Swords Dance stuff. Now there were some other interesting squads here, like some of the stuff in 5-3. Again, Bronzong is a Pokemon we've spoken about before, so you know, kind of interesting to see here. Look at this Comfey, another Pokemon you don't really get to see. Again, still doing decently here with 5-3. Cresselia, Ursaluna stuff with Torkoal, Dondozo, Tatsugiri, we've seen that kind of core already from before. There's a Gallade on this one, right? Gallade, you know, again, always gives you that anti-Incineroar matchup. Anytime you play Hard Trick Room, you need a way to deal with Ensign because, you know, Hatterene can't really do a whole lot to Ensign. Your Ursaluna gets intimidated. Your Eruption is resisted. You know, again, Expanding Force is not going to do anything to you. So you need something against Ensign. Usually a strong fighting type can help you deal with that. And, you know, that's why you have stuff like, you know, the Urshifus, the Iron Hands, the Gallades here, even the Cornerstone here can help you deal with the Ensign to an extent here. So, yeah, pretty interesting in essence. All right, so now this is my favorite part of the video where we get to look further down, you know, besides the archetypes. Again, some niche Pokemon that were able to do well, you know, Pokemon that normally you don't get to see in a common kind of matchup here, but again, still finding success. We always love to spotlight the niche guys. And we've already done a few already, right? But again, it's just all about finding that difference maker on your team that you've already found your core 4 or 5 mons here. And again, that niche Pokemon will just make all the difference here. So for the first 50 or so, you don't really get to see a whole lot. Like again, Sneasel might be like your highest one of usage, maybe even a little bit of King Gambit to an extent there. But you have to go a little bit further down to find a little bit more there. So for example, the Drifblim concept with Kent Wong over there, that was one. Chris Larch here with the Murkrow, the Iron Boulder stuff. We saw that a little bit earlier. How about this one right here? Quinn White, look at this Kamo O team. This is exactly the team we're looking for, right? Look at this. You've got Iron Boulder again. Iron Boulder making a little bit of a noise in this tour here. Then you've got Carbine Screen Tilt. What are we doing, Quinn? Oh my lord. And then Combo here with Iron Defense, Body Presto Shot there. Yeah, that's the set that you want on Combo at the moment there. But we're dealing with Calm Mind, Screen Tail. Yo, look at this Brute Bonded Thief and Trailblaze. And it's Band Iron Boulder. Oh my goodness. Quinn, look at this team, man. Shout out. This might be the coolest team of the tournament. All right, that's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. All right, Combo doesn't get a whole lot of uses. I would love to know the thought process of constructing all these mons here, because I don't think any of them are like normal. Like, it's just Incin and like a bunch of cool friends to bring, right? Like, okay, Art Flame, of course. But again, let's look further down. We've already spoken about Michael Zanga. Yo, look at this one from John Spivak. I've been one-upped. Wait, Quinn, I think you've been one-upped. Look at this. Wait. We've got Wire Deal with Life Orb. Oh my lord. And then you've got Indeedee stuff here with, okay, the Rocky Helmet stuff. Dragapult Choice Band. Okay, you haven't seen that in a hot minute. It's Curse as well. Verbombi Terra Rock with Tailwind. Zapdos with Psychic Seed. Thunderous Kick, Bulk Up. Oh, well, of course, Thunderous Kick is a normal there, but Bulk Up there. And then AV Tyranitar with Snarl. Wow. Wow. This might be the coolest team of the tournament. I don't even know anymore. Am I gonna get one up again? Let's see. Wait. Yo, wait, what is this? Okay, Tristan Medina. We've seen this player before. She's very excellent. And oh man, I have so many questions. Snarl Incin is very underrated, by the way. Swords Dance Wellspring, that's pretty cool. Leftovers Araquanid. I haven't seen Araquanid since like Regulation G, right? Flutter Mane, Calm Mind, Flutter Mane, Pain Split. Okay, Chien Pao here. That's about the most standard mon that you'll see. And then we got the Oinkalone with the Aroma Veil, Super Fang, Yawn, Playroom. Oh man, I need to know the thought process. I mean, I see it. I just want to know, like, how did you arrive at the Oinkalone? Like, okay, I respect it. I don't know how much you could pay me, but to run something like this, but that is a squad. We've seen some heat here towards the end of this video. I don't know if you guys made it this far, but Jesus. Okay, Bronzong we spoke about a little bit earlier. That one is, self-explanatory. Same thing here from Gavin Michaels, so he's used this before. Ninetales Entei stuff from Hudson, more Araquanid stuff there from Kelly Nurse. This one is actually, it looks like a normal Araquanid Trick Room team. Alright, yeah, so of course we can always like kind of breathe a little bit there. But am I gonna get one up again? Are we gonna find something, over here? Oh, there we go. Wait, look at this one. We got a couple of, we got two Kanto Ninetales. Yeah, Zach actually reached out to me earlier. And yeah, he says, yeah, Clover, we got Kanto Ninetales. We do? Oh yeah, absolutely we do. So I think they're the same squad here. Maybe there's some slight differences from what I understand. Let's look at Sophie's variant here. Life Orb, Kanto Ninetales. Okay, then we've got Choice Scarf, Terra Ground, Male Indeedee. Excuse me there. Ursh, Torn. Okay, it's like, give me a hyper offensive team and then give me a Ninetales. Is that's exactly what we're looking at. Wait, Substitute Tornadoes. Wow, I don't think I've ever seen that. I actually don't even think I've ever seen that. All right, and then this is a standard Flutter Mane set. So very cool. Again, like Kanto Ninetales, you're bringing out the sun. You're activating Flutter Mane here. I don't know, maybe you just wanted fast on you. I'm trying to understand what advantage that the Ninetales can do for you that the Torkoal cannot, right? At least it gives you an alternate form of Trick Room mode. But again, I guess we don't even have Trick Room mode. So I guess the Ninetales is the better choice here than the Torkoal, right? I guess I kind of see it now. Zach, are we looking at the same kind of squad here? I think we are. Well, Sharpbeak here. Yep, it does look like that. Yeah, again, Substitute Torn here. Power Gem, Flutter Mane. Oh, no, wait, that's the difference here. Power Gem, yeah, again, being able to hit the fire types is a big difference there. Very cool team from Zach and Sophie there. We got Walking Wake, a little bit of a, you don't get to see it a whole lot, but it is out there. Again, another Protomon there. No Sun, by the way, and Dragonite, but no Chien Pao. Very rare to see that as well. Back Scalper making an appearance here. David Hunter, 7-5 here. Again, with also, you know, Prankster Thunderous, who we've spoken about in a couple of videos ago. Underrated back Scalper there. Ice Shard, Glaive Rush, Icicle Crash. Is this better than Chenpao on this team? I'm not sure, maybe. But back Scalper, back's balance looks like it is more or less. So I can kind of see the vision there. More range stuff here. More Okie Dokie stuff here. There's the Regice team here from Justin 1 that we previewed a little bit earlier. And I think, wow, I think that's pretty much it. I'm going to see if there's a couple more from the 5-3 squads here that we didn't get to preview. Again, a couple of Reggie, Gigas, Weezing kind of teams here. Is there anything out of the ordinary from the 5-3? I'm only just going to go up to like 200 here. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Okay, yeah, and you know, in us, we got to see some cool mods, right? We saw like 3 out of this world teams, right? Which again is I've never seen any of those sets before, and I was very shocked, to say the least. So that very cool, but honestly, very very cool. All right, so kind of just like wrapping it up here. So you know, some of the archetypes that we already spoke about. So you know, just kind of summarizing it a little bit. So the Instant Rillaboom balance teams, you know, with Raging Bolt, Calm Mind stuff, that's like one of the premier squads to use right now. Of course, again, Fake Out, Calm Mind, Protect, Alternate, Pivot, Fake Out, Protect, you know, Pivot, Fake Out, Protect, of course, right? And then just start spamming, you know, Thunderclaps until the cows come home. The Regidrago, Psyspam balance teams, again, with like Tornadus, Urshifu, Indeedee, Iron Crown, Ogerpon, Heartflame. These are all like very, very standard stuff. Psyspam, huge in this tournament, obviously. The Arcanine balance teams, you know, again, Thunderwave, Flutter Mane with Intimidate support, Ogerpon, Wellspring, Raging Bolts, right? These are all, again, part of the core of that team. Sometimes you'll see the occasional Landorus and Dark Urshifu on there. You know, Grimmsnarl screens, not too bad. You'll probably see a couple, you know, moving forward. Maybe not a whole lot, but again, can still do something here. You know, Dondozo teams are still something to pay attention to, especially, you know, still not enough Clear Smog users, not enough Haze users. Dozo in the right hands can go far. You saw a couple of the results there. Don't use the Articuno stuff. Like, again, you can probably get a couple of results up, right? But, you know, at this point in the format, you had all this time to play Articuno. If you haven't played it now, you don't need to play it. So that's really all I gotta say here. And, you know, the Torkoal Sun stuff, if you like Hard Churkum, you're gonna see something there if you can, you know, really utilize it. The Ursaluna teams, right, with the Tailwind mode and the Churkum mode, that's also one of the more dominant archetypes that you can have right now. Pick a Churkum setter, Cresselia, Porygon, Farigiraf, Bronzong, again, had another decent showcasing here. The physical stuff, Gouging Fire, Psyspam, I'm sorry, Psyspam, Gouging Fire, physical spam, right, you know, with Chenpao, Dragonite stuff can still, you know, get it done a little bit. So, you know, even Roaring Moon teams can also still find their way. So, you know, pretty, I would say there's like 10 solid archetypes that you can use right now. Of course, some of them are in the S tier, some of them are in the A tier, then B and C, but all 10 of these archetypes, I don't even know if I've even mentioned 10. I think I did. But even if I didn't, doesn't matter. But, you know, of the 10, we'll just say I did 10. Of the 10, I think all of them are very playable. All of them are very usable. They've been getting consistent results across the regionals, okay? That's why they still do well even right now, because if you can repeat the results and do well, then you've got a good team here. All right, so we'll have to see what the next few regionals will bring forward here. Again, we don't have a whole lot of Regulation F left. If you're still trying to find a team, if you're still trying to build a team and you need some help, make sure you check out coaching on the channel. Tier 3 sub gets you a one-on-one coaching session with me where we get to build the squad from scratch, fresh EVs, full of EVs. We show you how to do it. And then if you want a little bit more, sign up with the tier 4 on the channel where we also get to give you some feedback on your battling. And then again, you know, just trying to optimize gameplay with your squad if that's something that you're looking for. So that'll be tier 4. And again, look in the video description, look in the pinned comment section. You'll find that link to join the channel with the tier 3 sub. Otherwise, feel free to join the Discord. That is always free. 1,200 plus members, closing in on 1,300 now. The VGC community for us, you know, continues to increase. Okay, that's it. That's all for now, folks. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out and have a good one.